mistress he chose over his wife was stealing millions from him the entire time. Serena Hale was never love, never even real. She was a professional grifter with a fake name, a perfect smile, and 8 months of access to Lorenzo's phones, computers, and private documents. While he ignored Melis's pain and called betrayal distraction, Serena forged signatures, drained accounts, moved $3 million through dummy corporations before vanishing. The Mafia boss, who thought he could read enemies, had been conned by the woman he chose over his family. The punishment was not losing the money. The punishment was realizing he had traded a loyal wife and 2 children for a fraud who never cared if he lived or died. You and I both know that some silences are not peaceful. Some silences press against your chest until breathing feels like work. In the kitchen, the refrigerator hums softly, the only sound in a house too large for one lonely woman. Mela Donovan stands beside the cold marble counter, her pale fingers gripping the edge so tightly her knuckles turn white. Afternoon light slips through expensive curtains and stretches across the spotless floor. She spent all morning scrubbing, almost painfully perfect, but perfection can be its own kind of prison. Upstairs, 2-year-old Sophia sleeps with one hand curled under her cheek. Her soft breathing comes through the monitor while Mela clutches her chest, fighting a panic attack that feels like drowning where no one can see. Down the hall, 4-year-old Marco is asleep too, unaware that his mother is coming apart just 1 floor below him. The life Mela spent years protecting is breaking in her hands like dry sand. Trembling, she reaches for her phone. The screen lights up with a family photo from 2 years ago, taken on Marco's birthday, back when Lorenzo still came home before the candles melted. His arm rests around her waist in the picture, and she is smiling like a woman who still believes promises mean something. She barely recognizes herself. She opens their message thread. His last text came 3 days earlier. "Don't wait up." That was all. No apology. No explanation. Neglect had become routine, dressed up as business. Mela stopped asking questions months ago because the answers always sounded the same. The Vascari Empire was expanding. His meetings were urgent. His responsibilities were bigger than hers. He always spoke as if she should feel honored to be abandoned by a powerful man. But understanding his ambition does not help her breathe now. It does not steady her hands or fill the empty place inside a marriage that was supposed to be a partnership. Her thumb shakes over the keyboard. She types 3 letters, SOS. For a moment she stares at them, ashamed of how desperate they look and terrified they still may not be enough. Then she sends the message, delivered. A second later, read. Mela keeps staring at the screen, every nerve in her body waiting for his call. Surely he will understand. Surely 3 letters, the simplest cry for help, will matter more than whatever table he is sitting at, whatever deal he is protecting, whatever woman is smiling across from him. But the minutes pass. The screen stays blank. Something inside her chest seems to crack cleanly in 2. She sets the phone down and tries the breathing exercise her therapist once taught her, before Lorenzo made her stop going. He said she had a beautiful house, healthy children, and financial security. Why couldn't she just be grateful? But comfort is not care. A golden cage is still a cage, and tonight she can feel every bar. She had learned to stop fighting battles. She already knew she could not win, so she stopped arguing. She stopped explaining her loneliness. She stopped asking him to come home. 20 minutes later, her breathing finally steadies, but the ache in her chest remains. She picks up the phone again. No missed calls. No reply, only silence. Her thumb moves to her sister Julia's name. Julia would come without asking too many questions. She would hold Mela together and drive across town in slippers if she had to. But calling Julia means saying the truth out loud. Means admitting that this beautiful marriage, the one everyone envied, has been dying slowly behind locked doors. Mela would have to admit she is drowning in a house full of luxury. She would have to admit Lorenzo's absences are not only about business. She is not naive. She has seen the restaurant receipts for dinners she never attended, the hotel charges he brushed away, the trace of unfamiliar perfume on his jackets when he came home after midnight. He has become a stranger who occasionally visits the house they share, a husband in name, a ghost in practice. She walks to the sink and splashes cold water onto her face. At 32, she is still beautiful, but her eyes look hollow, tired in a way sleep cannot fix. It is the exhaustion of loving someone who has stopped looking back. When the panic fades, it leaves something colder behind. Mela makes chamomile tea and wraps both hands around the mug, trying to warm fingers that will not stop shaking. Outside, The trimmed lawn and sparkling pool look like a postcard from a successful life, but none of it feels like hers anymore. Then her phone buzzes. For one breath, hope rises so sharply it hurts. But it is only a bank notification. $50,000 has been transferred from their joint account to an unlisted destination. It is the third large transfer this month. No explanation, no conversation, just money disappearing into the private life Lorenzo keeps locked away from her. "I handle the business, Mela," he would always say, sharp and impatient, as if the money gave him the right to keep her in the dark. To him, raising 2 children and managing a massive estate was invisible work. It was expected, not respected. Mela deletes the notification and sets the phone aside before her hands start shaking again. Soon Sofia and Marco will wake, hungry and warm and full of little needs. Need a mother who can smile at breakfast, not someone collapsed on the kitchen floor because her husband cannot answer one message. Months of single parenting while wearing the face of a happy wife. But as she walks upstairs, something inside her finally stops bending. It is not panic anymore. It is clarity. Cold, frightening, necessary clarity. Mila stands in the nursery doorway and watches Sofia sleep, her tiny hand resting on a stuffed rabbit Lorenzo bought during an airport layover and called a gift. The phone remains silent in Mela's pocket. That silence tells her more than any confession could. For the first time, she imagines a life without waiting for him. Not a dramatic life, not a revenge fantasy, just a quiet home where she can breathe, where her children do not learn that love means being ignored. A fragile thought takes root in her chest. Maybe she does not have to disappear to keep this family standing. Across the city, Lorenzo Vascari stands before the floor-to-ceiling windows of a penthouse suite, looking down at the city like it belongs to him. In his hand, a crystal tumbler holds amber liquor that catches the chandelier light. He has always loved beautiful things, because they reflect power back to him. Behind him, Serena Hale steps out of the bedroom, dark hair damp, silk robe tied loosely at her waist. She moves with the careful grace that caught his attention 6 months ago. On the table beside her lies a leather folder she had been admiring. Earlier, filled with contracts she claimed were too boring to understand. Lorenzo had laughed and left it open. He never noticed how closely she studied the names. Serena slides her arms around his waist and tells him he thinks too much. Her voice is soft, practiced, exactly what he wants to hear. "Men like you should not have to beg for peace," she murmurs, making the words sound like devotion instead of poison. Lorenzo drinks and lets himself believe this is only a temporary escape. But his father's empire has always followed him like a shadow. His father built it on one brutal rule: weakness is death, and love makes men careless. Lorenzo learned that lesson too well. 6 months earlier, his mother had warned him he was becoming the man he hated most. Cold, distant, crown in hand, family forgotten. His mother's words return now, sharp and unwelcome. "Do not lose your family while building a dynasty." He had dismissed her fear, saying Mela understood the cost of their life. But his phone lies face up on the marble counter, and the truth glows from the screen. Hours earlier, during dinner, it had vibrated with one desperate message from his wife, SOS. His chest had tightened when he saw it. For 1 second, some old part of him wanted to call. Then Serena leaned close, her perfume warm against his neck. "She always does this when you finally relax, doesn't she?" Serena whispered. Her fingers brushed his phone as she asked whether private account codes were really as complicated as movies made them seem. He smiled, distracted, and chose the easier lie. Lorenzo wanted one night away from pressure. One night where no one needed anything from him. Mela would understand, he told himself. She always had. That quiet patience of hers had become something he depended on without gratitude. Serena notices his glance toward the phone and smiles. She knows better than to demand too much too soon. "Everything okay?" she asks, already turning the open folder slightly toward herself. "Nothing urgent," he lies, turning his back on the message and pulling her closer. Serena kisses his jaw and whispers that a man carrying an empire cannot be controlled by guilt. The line lands exactly where she wants it to. Her smile has no history, no sacrifice, and no love behind it. That is why it feels easy. In Serena's apartment, Lorenzo chooses the softest escape and calls it relief. He forgets the unanswered plea on his phone. He forgets the wife sitting alone in a house he bought but never truly lived in. He forgets the children who know his voice mostly through rushed phone calls and broken promises. This room asks nothing from him except money, charm, and a little time. That is why he stays. They leave the phone on the marble counter, where notifications blink like small warnings in the dark. Before Serena follows him to the bedroom, she glances once at the screen, memorizing the shape of his passcode reflection in the black glass. Midnight, she is asleep. Lorenzo is not. In the dark, his wedding day returns with cruel clarity. Mela in white, Mela laughing through nervous tears. Mela looking at him as if his promises were safe places to rest. He had meant every vow then. He truly believed he could build an empire and still be the husband she deserved. But success had become a jealous master. Slowly, the man Mela married was buried beneath the executive Lorenzo thought he had to become. Every missed dinner became easier than the last. Every late night demanded less explanation. He told himself she would always understand because she loved him. Now lying in sheets that smell of betrayal, he realizes love can be exhausted too. Lately, Mela had stopped waiting up. She had stopped asking where he was. She had stopped trying to pull him back into the life they built together. Her silence should have felt like freedom, but it unsettled him. Suddenly, his phone buzzes in the next room. Lorenzo gets out of bed before he can think. His bare feet sink into the carpet as he walks to the bar. The glowing screen shows missed calls from his mother, legal notices, business alerts, and at the bottom, Malas hours-old SOS. He stares at it until the letters seem to accuse him. Beside the phone, the leather folder sits closed now. He does not remember closing it. Still, he looks away from both. He opens their chat and scrolls through months of practical messages, pediatric appointments, grocery lists, school reminders, house repairs. Nothing tender, nothing that sounds like two people in love. Their marriage has become a logistics thread. His finger hovers over the call button. He imagines Mela answering with that tired silence he has learned to fear. He imagines her asking where he was when she needed him. So he does what weak men do when truth is waiting. He postpones it. Tomorrow, he tells himself, he will take her to dinner. He will bring flowers. He will fix it somehow. Then he returns to bed beside the woman who helped him break it. The cold light of dawn spreads across Serena's silk sheets. She wanted his wealth, his name, the doors his power could open. Lorenzo wanted distraction. He wanted to feel admired without being known, desired without being responsible. It was a dishonest bargain, but he preferred it to the complicated grief waiting at home. Serena stirs beside him and asks, almost playfully, whether men like him ever carry emergency access codes in their phones. Lorenzo laughs and tells her she watches too many crime shows. She laughs too, light and harmless, then tells him Mela sounds like the kind of woman who uses worry to keep a man on a leash. He misses the calculation in her eyes. He gives in again while his wife's message waits in the next room. Morning, he has convinced himself the storm has passed. No more messages from Mela. No frantic calls. No dramatic follow-up. He chooses to believe silence means everything is fine, because that belief lets him keep moving. He showers, dresses, and kisses Serena goodbye like a man with no consequences waiting for him. As he leaves, she slips his abandoned pen into her robe pocket, the same pen he uses to sign private account approvals. But in another part of the city, Mela sits on the bedroom floor surrounded by plastic blocks. Sophia builds a crooked tower, while Marco holds up a drawing of their family. In the picture, Daddy is standing far away from the rest of them. The room is full of innocent noise, blocks clicking, Sophia laughing, Marco explaining every color in his drawing. It should comfort Mela, but it only makes the emptiness sharper. Her children still believe she can fix anything broken in their world. They do not know she spent the day before, gasping for air in the kitchen while they slept. 24 hours after her SOS, Lorenzo has given her nothing. No call, no question, not even a lie. And the little girl laughs before starting again. Mela watches her rebuild and has to turn her face away. Her children deserve more than a mother, fading quietly, and a father who treats absence like a schedule. A marriage can die without screaming. Sometimes it dies through delayed replies, empty chairs, and excuses repeated until they become walls. Mela's phone lies face down on the rug, but she keeps glancing at it as if hope is a habit she's not learned how to break. Still nothing from Lorenzo, only ordinary reminders about dentist appointments and weekend activities. She thinks about calling him, but she already knows how it would go. He would sound distracted. He would apologize without stopping whatever he was doing. He would promise to make time, and for a few days he might even try. Then the Empire would call again, and she would vanish back into the background. That cycle has worn her down to the bone. Hope, disappointment, apology, repeat. Then Sophia reaches up with both tiny hands and touches Mela's cheek. "Mama sad," she whispers. Mela forces a smile and pulls her close. "Just tired, baby." From the doorway, Marco watches them with eyes far too serious for a 4-year-old. "Daddy make you sad?" he asks. He's always gone now. The words land harder than any accusation from an adult could have. Mela freezes. Her children are not protected by her silence. They are learning from it. They are learning that love means waiting for someone who may not come. "Daddy works very hard," Mela whispers, but the old excuse tastes bitter now. Marco looks at her like he does not believe it. And that hurts most of all. Children can feel the truth long before they have words for it. Later, when both children are asleep, Mela walks into the master bedroom. She has not slept there in days. She told herself it was because Lorenzo came home late and disturbed her rest. But the truth is simpler and colder. Lying beside someone who feels miles away is lonelier than sleeping alone. The room smells faintly of his cologne and expensive laundry soap. It no longer feels intimate. It feels staged. The master bedroom has become a museum of a marriage that used to be alive. His watch on the dresser, her lotion by the mirror, two sides of one room. Two strangers pretending objects prove connection. Mela opens Lorenzo's nightstand drawer with trembling fingers. Inside she finds the paper trail of his secret life. Dinner receipts from restaurants he never took her to. A hotel card with no explanation. Dry cleaning slips for suits he did not wear home. Behind them sits a copy of a wire transfer form with only part of the account name visible. Serena's initials appear in a memo line tucked almost out of sight. Mela's fingers touch a velvet box at the bottom. For one humiliating second, hope rises. Maybe a peace offering. Maybe proof he still remembers her. She opens it and finds a sapphire pendant, stunning and cold. There is no note, no handwriting, no sign that he chose it himself. Just golden stone. Expensive enough to silence a woman who has been asking for love. Mela closes the box and sets it back as if it might burn her. She does not want jewelry chosen by an assistant. She wants a husband who hears fear in 3 letters. She wants the man who once came home early, just to eat burnt pasta with her, and laugh at the kitchen table. Suddenly, her phone buzzes. Lorenzo's name appears at last. The message is 6 words long. "Sorry, busy day yesterday. Everything okay?" Mela reads it once, then again. After 24 hours of silence, after her panic, after the children's questions, he offers her the kind of text someone sends after missing a delivery. Her hands go still. She could explain. She could pour out all the pain he has ignored and hope the right words finally reach him. But she has spent years trying to translate her hurt into a language he might care about. The truth becomes painfully simple. If a man can read SOS from his wife and wait until the next day to ask if she is okay, the answer has already been given. Mela types slowly before fear can soften her. "Don't worry about me anymore. Just take care of the children when you see them. I don't have the strength to keep fighting for something you gave up on a long time ago." She sends it before she can delete a single word. Read. Almost instantly, 3 dots appear, disappear, then appear again. Her heart pounds so hard it hurts. For 1 second, she imagines him standing up, canceling everything, finally choosing her while there is still something left to save. Then his reply comes through. "Mela, what are you saying? Can we talk later?" In the middle of something important. Mela laughs once, a small, broken sound that does not feel like laughter at all. Even now, while the marriage is splitting open in front of him, Lorenzo is asking her to wait. There is always something important. A meeting, a deal, a crisis, a woman. A reason she must stand quietly in the wings until he has time to notice the damage. Her fingers move with surprising calm. "No, we can tea-talk later. We are done." She stares at the words after sending them, expecting fear to swallow her. Instead, the room becomes strangely quiet. Not empty. Quiet. She turns the phone off and places it on the dresser beside the sapphire box. This time she will not beg to be chosen. The road ahead terrifies her. Single motherhood, lawyers, society's whispers, her own family-esque questions. The financial mess Lorenzo kept hidden, but fear no longer feels worse than staying. Staying means teaching Marco that absence is normal, and teaching Sophia that love is something a woman earns by enduring pain quietly. Mela pulls a suitcase from the closet. She does not pack the jewelry. She does not pack the designer dresses Lorenzo bought after missing anniversaries. She packs the children's favorite pajamas, their birth certificates, a few clothes, the restaurant receipts, and the strange transfer copy from his drawer. Let him keep the mansion. She wants her life back. On the dresser, her wedding ring catches the last pale light of afternoon. A small circle of gold, once sacred, now heavy with every promise he abandoned. She remembers his hands shaking when he slid it onto her finger. She remembers believing him. For a moment, grief almost bends her knees. Then Marco calls for her from down the hall, and the sound steadies her. She removes the ring and places it beside the sapphire pendant. One gift from the man he used to be. One gift from the man he became. Then she walks out. Miles away, Lorenzo reads her final message for the 5th time. The letters do not change, but the weight of them keeps growing. His executive office suddenly feels too small, despite the glass walls and expensive view. The mahogany desk, leather chairs, and framed awards cannot protect him from the cold spreading through his chest. His assistant's voice crackles through the intercom, announcing his 2:00 meeting. Lorenzo looks at his packed calendar, the thing he once treated like scripture. For years, he had called these appointments unavoidable, essential, bigger than everything else. But his wife has just ended their marriage by text, because he would not answer her cry for help. For the first time, the empire looks less like success and more like an excuse he hid behind. "Cancel it," he says, his voice rough. "Cancel everything today. I need to go home." The silence through the intercom is thick with shock. Lorenzo never cancels. When his assistant nervously mentions the Castellano deal, he snaps, "I said cancel it." He grabs his coat and runs for the elevator, before habit can pull him back into the conference room. The drive home feels endless. Every red light feels like punishment. Every missed call from the past comes back to him at once. Birthdays, dinners, school events, and he heard inconvenience instead of warning. He turns into the driveway. The estate stands grand and immaculate, but it no longer looks like home. Lorenzo remembers the day he brought Mela here. She had walked through the front door with tears in her eyes, believing he had given her safety. When did that dream turn it into such an elegant prison? He unlocks the door and steps into a silence so deep it makes his ears ring. No cartoons playing, no little feet on the stairs, no warm voice from the kitchen. He runs upstairs and throws open doors. The children's beds are made. The closets are half empty. A stuffed dinosaur lies abandoned on the floor, and the sight nearly breaks him. Then his phone buzzes. His mother's message appears. "Why is Mela here with the children? What did you do?" Relief and dread hit him together. Mela has not vanished. She has gone to his mother, which somehow feels worse. She trusted the woman who warned him, not the husband who should have protected her. Lorenzo calls immediately. His mother answers on the first ring, her voice already sharp with anger. "What did you do to that poor girl?" The question strips away every defense he prepared. He whispers that he thought Mela understood his ambition. His mother laughs once, dry and bitter. She tells him understanding is not the same as surviving. Mela has been drowning for months, while he polished his glass empire and called it sacrifice. His mother's voice carries the weight of watching history repeat itself. She says Marco has started asking why Daddy only comes home when everyone is asleep. Sophia reaches for the door whenever a car passes, then stops expecting anything. "Your father made the same mistakes," she says, "and I will not watch you become him without naming it." Lorenzo sinks onto the stairs. His knees simply give out. He says he needs to explain. He needs to talk to Mela. His mother's answer is merciless. "Explain what? That you ignored your wife as SOS while you were with Serena." The name hits like slap. The secret is no longer secret. Shame burns through him. For a moment, Lorenzo cannot speak. His mother's disappointment feels heavier than anger. He begs to see Mela, but the silence on the line becomes a locked door. "She wanted to see you," his mother finally says. "She cried until she had nothing left. Then she made breakfast for your children." Like nothing had happened. Lorenzo closes his eyes. That image hurts more than any accusation. He promises he's coming to fix everything. His mother cuts him off. "You cannot fix years of neglect with one afternoon of panic." Then the line goes dead. Alone on the staircase, he looks down at a seductive text from Serena and feels only disgust, not desire, not escape, disgust. With shaking hands, Lorenzo types one final message to Serena. "It is over. Do not contact me again." He blocks her number. The act feels dramatic for 1 second, then painfully small. It cannot erase the dinners, the lies, the nights he gave away. He walks through the empty mansion like a stranger touring the ruins of his own life. Everywhere, Mela remains in small, quiet traces, framed drawings on the wall, tiny shoes by the stairs, a blanket folded over the sofa. because she always thought the room looked too cold. In the kitchen, he finds a grocery list in her handwriting: milk, bread, apples, Marco cereal. While he chased power, she had been holding their life together piece by piece. Lorenzo stands there with the paper in his hand, haunted by one question. When did he decide being admired by strangers mattered more than being needed at home? His mother's warning echoes through the empty halls. Never become his father. Yet he had followed the same path almost perfectly. The same cold house, the same lonely wife, the same children learning not to expect him. Desperate to do one thing right, he calls his attorney and orders half his assets transferred to Mela with no conditions, along with full custody if she wants it. If he has already failed as a husband, he refuses to punish her for leaving. The attorney urges caution. There are procedures, consequences, negotiations. Lorenzo cuts him off. Today, he says, not next week, not after a meeting. When he hangs up, the house feels even quieter. He drives to his mother's home, with his heart pounding so hard he can feel it in his throat. What apology covers years of absence? What words can stand against an affair and an unanswered SOS? As he approaches the modest house, he hears children laughing in the backyard. The sound pierces him. For years he thought strength meant control. Now he understands it may mean standing in front of the people you hurt and accepting that they owe you nothing. The front door opens before he can knock twice. His mother stands there like a guard at the entrance to a life he once took for granted. Her face is cold, but grief softens her eyes. She does not want to see you, she says. Lorenzo asks for 5 minutes. Only 5. After a long silence, she steps aside. In the dim kitchen, Mela sits before an untouched cup of tea, and the emptiness in her eyes hits him harder than anger. He starts to explain, but she raises one hand. "Don't," she says quietly. "There is nothing poetic about what you did. You left me alone until I learned how to live without you." Her calm terrifies him. She is not crying. She is not screaming. She has already passed through the fire without him. Lorenzo says he can change. He says he will cancel meetings, come home earlier, go to therapy, do whatever she needs. Mela looks at him with a sad kind of pity. "You still think this is a problem to solve," she says. "Like a business crisis. Like if you move fast enough, you can control the damage." He tries to tell her he is here now. Her answer is soft, but it cuts clean. "You are here because I left, not because you heard me." The truth leaves him with nothing to say. Mela's hands rest still around the cold cup. "What happens next month?" she asks, "when the meetings return, when the pressure rises, when someone else makes you feel powerful and uncomplicated?" Lorenzo wants to deny it, but the denial dies before reaching his mouth. Desperate, he asks about the children. For the first time, her face cracks. Pain flashes through her eyes, raw and immediate. "That is exactly why I left," she says. "Marco asked if you make me sad. Sophia touched my face because she knew I was hurting. I am not teaching them that love means begging someone to come home. I am not teaching them that a mother's pain is normal." She stands slowly, the chair scraping softly across the kitchen floor. "You can see them," she says. "You can be their father. I will never take that from them unless you give me a reason. But our marriage is over." Lorenzo steps forward, his chest tight, insisting that his family is his highest priority. Mela's smile is small and devastating. "No, Lorenzo. We were your guilt, your image, your proof that you were not your father, but we were not your priority." He flinches because the words are true. She walks past him toward the hall, leaving him in the cold kitchen with the untouched tea. Only then does he understand that some endings happen long before anyone says goodbye. 3 months later, Lorenzo learns what it means to stand outside a life that used to open for him. Wednesdays, alternate weekends, scheduled phone calls. His assistant now blocks off family time in red on his calendar, and no one dares move it. Today, he leaves the office at 3 in the afternoon. The staff watches him with stunned silence, waiting for the empire to crack. It does not. The manager's handle calls. The contracts move. The building keeps breathing without him. That truth embarrasses him more than any public failure. All those years of saying he had no choice suddenly sound thin. He had choices. He simply kept choosing the wrong room. He pulls up to his mother's modest house, and it feels warmer than his mansion ever did. Chalk drawings cover the driveway. A small bicycle lies tipped near the porch. A plastic watering can sits beside flower pots Mela must have planted with the children. These are the signs of a life he used to rush past. The front door bursts open and Marco runs toward him shouting, "Daddy." Lorenzo drops to his knees and catches him, holding him too tightly for a second. Marco has grown. Of course he has. Children grow whether fathers are paying attention or not. Lorenzo notices the missing front tooth, the scraped knee, the new way his son says certain words. Small changes, permanent losses. Sofia appears in the doorway next, smaller and more cautious. She studies him first, as if still deciding where he belongs. Then she runs forward and wraps her arms around his leg. Lorenzo whispers hello, his voice breaking. Behind them, Mela steps into the light, and for a moment he forgets how to breathe. She looks different, healthier. The shadows beneath her eyes have faded. Her hair is pulled back simply, her face calm in a way he has not seen in years. It is painfully clear that leaving him has given her back something he never knew he was taking. Her polite smile hurts more than anger. She is not punishing him. She is healing. Mela says Marco insisted on wearing the shirt Lorenzo bought him, and Sofia picked her favorite dress for the visit. Lorenzo looks at them and feels the weight of how much these small efforts mean. He suggests the park and ice cream. Mela agrees, then reminds him to have them back by 7. The schedule stands between them like a clean glass wall. When he asks if they can talk after he brings the children home, her face tightens with exhaustion. Lorenzo, she says softly, we have talked. He pleads not loudly, not dramatically, just like a man with very little left. After a long pause, she gives one small nod. After they sleep, 30 minutes. The afternoon is painfully sweet. Lorenzo turns his phone off before leaving the driveway. At the park, he pushes Sofia on the swings until she shrieks with laughter. He watches Marco climb the jungle gym, cheering too loudly because he is trying to make up for years in one afternoon. Over ice cream, the question he has feared finally arrives. When are you coming home, Daddy? Marco asks, chocolate on his chin and worry in his eyes. Lorenzo's throat closes. He cannot tell a 4-year-old that selfishness broke the house. So he says gently that Daddy has one home and Mama has another, but both homes love him very much. Marco looks down at his melting ice cream, unconvinced. In the quiet garden, Marco leans against him and asks why they cannot all live together again. Lorenzo wraps an arm around his son and feels the small weight of him like judgment and blessing at once. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, he says carefully, and things have to change. But loving you will never change. The words are true, but they are not enough. Marco's sadness makes that clear. Nearby, Sofia chatters happily about daycare, unaware of the adult wreckage around her. Lorenzo listens and realizes life did not pause while he was absent. Their world kept moving. New routines formed. New comfort grew. He is not returning to the life he left. That life is gone. 7 o'clock arrives too quickly. The children are sleepy in the backseat, their faces soft in the blue glow of the car clock. At the door, Mela takes Sofia while Lorenzo carries Marco inside. Their movements are careful and practiced, like two people passing fragile glass between them. After the children are settled, she leads him to the patio. Mugs sit on the table, a painful echo of the nights when they used to talk for hours over coffee. Now there is a measured distance between the chairs. Mela sits with half her face in shadow. You have 30 minutes, she says. Lorenzo had rehearsed this speech all afternoon, but under her steady gaze, every word falls apart. I changed the company, he begins, then stops because even he hears how empty it sounds. Mela does not interrupt. He tells her he delegated operations and comes home by 6 every night, though the house is empty when he arrives. He tells her he blocked Serena. Mela's face barely moves. Good, she says, not cruelly, just plainly. That single word ends half his speech. He reaches into his coat and places a therapy appointment card on the table. Proof he thought might matter. Mela looks at it, then back at him. I am glad you are finally looking at yourself, she says, but I am not the reward for your regret. Her words strike him harder than he expected. Lorenzo pleads with her, bringing up their history, the children, the years when they were happy. Mela sets down her cup. I remember those years, she says. That is why this hurt so much. She tells him she spent too long becoming decorative in his life. A wife in photographs, a mother in the house, a woman he assumed would always be waiting. She refuses to vanish again, just because he is frightened now. Real change may matter, but it does not erase the nights she cried alone, or the moment he read her SOS and chose not to call. Some wounds do not become smaller because the person who caused them finally feels sorry. Lorenzo says that is not who he wants to be anymore. Mela studies him beneath the porch light. Then become different, she answers. For yourself. For the children, not as a way to pull me back. Marco's drawing is taped crookedly to the glass. 4 stick figures stand under a yellow sun. One figure, the father, is drawn at the edge of the page. The sight says more than Mela needs to. He was excellent at managing emergencies, signing papers, moving money, and cleaning up damage after it became visible. But he failed at the ordinary devotion that would have kept the damage from happening at all. You are a better father now, Mela says, her voice softening. Marco and Sofia deserve this version of you. For one foolish second, hope rises in him. Then she continues, but I have nothing left to give as your wife. There is no cruelty in her voice, only exhaustion, honest and final. Lorenzo says he loves her. The words come out rough, almost desperate. Mela's eyes fill, but she does not move toward him. I know, she says, but I needed love when I was still inside that house, trying not to disappear. She touches the rim of her mug, steadying herself. I needed to be chosen before leaving became the only way to survive. Lorenzo looks at her peaceful face and understands the cruelty of timing. She is stronger now, lighter, whole in a way she never was in his house. He opens his mouth to beg again, then stops. For the first time, loving her means not dragging her back into the pain she escaped. So we just become polite strangers, he asks. Mela shakes her head. No, we become good parents. Respectful ones. That is what our children need. From inside, Sofia coughs in her sleep, and Mela immediately turns toward the sound. That instinct, that constant attention, is what he failed to honor for years. He lowers his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispers, and this time the apology asks for nothing. The evening fades into a cold blue quiet. Lorenzo apologizes for every missed dinner, every unanswered message, every time he made her feel unreasonable for needing him. Mela listens without softening the truth. When he says he waited too long, she nods. Yes, she says. And she adds, but you are showing up for the children now. Keep doing that. A long silence settles between them. Lorenzo finally asks if she is happy. Mela looks toward the dark garden, where the children's toys lie scattered in the grass. I am getting there, she says. It is hard. Some days are still heavy, but I am no longer shrinking myself to fit inside someone else's life. So yes, Mela says quietly, I think I am moving toward happy. The words land softly, but they leave Lorenzo breathless, and he is not part of the foundation. He stands slowly, feeling older than he did when he arrived. Thank you for being honest, he says. Mela looks up at him, her face partly hidden in shadow. We are both parents to Marco and Sofia. We will be in each other's lives for a long time. We might as well make it peaceful. He nods because peace is the only gift she is willing to offer, and he has no right to demand more. It is not forgiveness, not exactly, but it is grace. As his car pulls away, Lorenzo glances in the rearview mirror. The modest house grows smaller behind him, warm light glowing in the window, where Mela is probably tucking the children into bed. This is his life now, divided calendars, quiet handoffs, a home he can visit but no longer enter freely. He cannot restore what he broke, but he can decide what kind of father he will be from this point forward. 6 months later, his attorney calls while Lorenzo is reviewing quarterly reports. The man's voice is flat and careful. Mr. Vascari, we have found irregularities in several accounts. Lorenzo sits very still as the attorney mentions forged signatures that look almost perfect. How much? Lorenzo asks. His mouth has gone dry. The attorney hesitates. Approximately $3 million. The number lands hard, but the betrayal behind it lands harder. The theft is too precise to be random. Someone had access to his codes, his private files, his travel schedule, his habits, even the pen he used for private authorizations. Someone close. Serena. The investigation confirms it within days. Serena Hale was an alias for Sarah Mendez, a professional grifter, who studied wealthy, lonely men and became exactly what they wanted. Every soft laugh, every admiring look, every innocent question about his accounts had been part of the performance. 2 weeks after he ended the affair, she vanished. By the time Lorenzo understands the full truth, Serena is already gone, likely smiling at another man across another expensive table. He should be furious. Instead, he feels a cold, hollow acceptance. He traded his loyal family for an illusion that was robbing him the whole time. The humiliation spreads through business circles quickly. Men who once feared him now speak carefully around him. The scandal wounds his pride, but pride is not what keeps him awake. What keeps him awake is the memory of Mela's SOS glowing on a marble counter while Serena copied pieces of his life from the shadows. When Mela hears the news, she calls one evening. Her voice is calm, not cruel. I heard about Serena. I'm sorry, Lorenzo, she says. I know this must be difficult. He closes his eyes. Dante, be sorry for me. I earned this. There is silence on the line, heavy with years neither of them can undo. Mela tells him the children have noticed his sadness during visits. Marco asked if Daddy lost something important. The question nearly breaks him. Even after everything, Mela is still thinking about what the children see, still trying to soften the world for them. Tell them I'm fine, he whispers. Then he stops himself. No, don't tell them that. Just tell them adults get sad too, but I love them. He swallows hard. I destroyed our marriage for someone who was stealing from me. I ignored your pain while I was being conned. Lorenzo says, pressing his forehead to the cold window. I have no right to your kindness. Mela answers after a long pause. You are still their father. That still matters. Her voice is gentle, but it does not open any doors. You are not a complete failure, Lorenzo. You made terrible choices, and now you have to live with them. Our family still exists. It is just different. After they hang up, the penthouse feels painfully quiet. He pours a drink, then leaves it untouched. Outside, the city glitters beneath him. The same view he once thought proved he had won. Now it looks like distance, nothing more. That night, Lorenzo scrolls through photos of his children. Marco with chocolate ice cream smeared across his cheek. Sophia asleep against his chest after a long park day. A blurry picture of both of them laughing in the back seat. These photos prove he is learning to be present, but the progress comes wrapped in grief. The one person he wishes could see the change has moved on from needing it. At school handoffs, Mela greets him with a kind, distant smile. She asks about homework, jackets, snacks, schedules. Nothing more. No warmth sneaks through the cracks. She is respectful, and somehow that hurts more. Respect means she has boundaries now. Boundaries he created by breaking trust. Look closely at Mela now, and the difference is unmistakable. There is no dramatic bitterness in her face, no hidden wish to punish him. There is simply the absence of the old ache. She laughs more easily. She stands straighter. Her shoulders no longer carry the tension of a woman waiting for disappointment. At a school event, Lorenzo watches her kneel beside Sophia's art table, smiling naturally while Marco tugs at her sleeve. A man in a rolled-up shirt stands nearby, helping tape a crooked paper star to the wall. Mila laughs at something he says, soft and unguarded. The sight cuts deeper than any argument ever did. She is better without Lorenzo. And now someone else is seeing her shine. 2 years pass. Marco starts kindergarten and Sophia begins preschool. Lorenzo is there now. Parent meetings, weekend breakfasts, school plays, scraped knees, bedtime calls. He has become dependable in the ways he once dismissed as small. But every night he returns to a penthouse that feels less like a home and more like a display case. Glass, marble, silence. The empire still grows. The money still comes. But success tastes different when no one is waiting at the end of the day. Sometimes he finds old family videos on his phone and pauses on Mela's laugh, the one he did not protect when it was still his to hear. He finally understands that the most valuable parts of life cannot be bought back once they have been thrown away. On a quiet spring evening, Lorenzo sits in his car outside the school gate, both hands gripping the steering wheel. In the back seat, Marco talks happily about David, his teacher, who fixes fences, brings homemade cookies, and knows how to make Mama laugh. Then Lorenzo sees him. David stands beside Mela near the entrance, holding Sophia's backpack while Mela helps Marco zip his jacket. It is such a simple gesture, almost nothing. That is why it hurts. David is not showing off. He is just there, present in the small, ordinary way Lorenzo once dismissed. Mela looks up at David and smiles, not politely, not carefully, but freely. Lorenzo keeps his face calm for the children, while something inside him folds in on itself. At the front door later, Mela notices the tension in his face. Are you all right? She asks. Lorenzo tries to say yes, but the lie does not hold. Marco mentioned David, he says. He forces himself to add that she deserves happiness. Mela studies him beneath the porch light, cautious but not unkind. She explains that David started as a friend, but she has begun letting herself imagine something more. Does that bother you? She asks. Lorenzo looks down at his hands. I have no right to be bothered, he says. I only hope whoever earns your heart treats you with the respect I failed to give. Her eyes soften and the pity in them hurts more than anger. Then let me be happy without making me carry your grief too, she says gently. Mela's voice is calm, but there is no room for misunderstanding. Marriage is dead, not paused, not waiting, dead. Lorenzo knows she is right, yet his heart still resists the finality. He has learned the lesson his mother tried to teach him long ago. Empires can survive without one man in the office, but children do not stay little while their father is busy. Money can recover, trust may not. The cruel irony is that Lorenzo has finally become the man Mela needed years earlier. Present, patient, careful with his words. But he became that man standing outside the door, while another man held the backpack. Another man heard her laugh. Another man entered the picture Lorenzo abandoned. Some doors close quietly, and still they close forever. His change is real, but it was born from catastrophe. Lorenzo's better now, and still he is better alone. He lives at the edge of his children's daily world, grateful for every drawing they show him, every hug at pickup, every sleepy phone call before bed. But he is not the anchor he should have been. He is the visiting father who learned too late. In his quietest hours, he stops blaming Serena, the empire, his father, or pressure. The truth is simpler and harder. He chose absence again and again until absence became his place. He chased freedom from responsibility and received it. Then he discovered it felt exactly like emptiness. They do not announce themselves all at once. They gather in missed dinners, unanswered messages, and small moments we think we can replace later. Lorenzo has wealth, status, and a name people still speak with respect, but none of it can buy back the night he ignored 3 letters from his wife. He loves Mela now with a depth that came too late to matter. She is no longer his to love, except from a distance and with silence. As the camera pulls back from his empty penthouse, his phone lights up with a photo from Marco, Mela, Sophia, Marco, and David at the school picnic, laughing in warm afternoon light. Lorenzo sets the phone down and finally understands what his ambition cost. Cherish what is real while it is still beside you, or spend the rest of your life watching it belong somewhere else. Every mafia boss story is not only about power, money, revenge, or fear. Beneath the violence and darkness, there is often a painful human lesson about choices, consequences, loyalty, family, and the price of ambition. This story reminds us that no matter how powerful a person becomes, no one can escape the truth forever. Hundreds of people, and make others tremble at the sound of his name. But if his heart is empty, his victory is never complete. The mafia boss in this story represents a man who built his life on control. He believed that fear was stronger than love, that silence was safer than honesty, and that power could protect him from pain. For years, he may have won every battle in the streets, in business, and among his enemies. But the most important battle was never outside him. It was inside his own heart. That is where he truly lost himself. One of the most meaningful lessons from this story is that power without morality becomes a prison. Many people dream of becoming rich, respected, or feared. They think success means having control over others. But real success is not measured by how many people obey you. It is measured by how many lives you protect, how much peace you create, and how much good remains after you are gone. The mafia boss had money, influence, and protection, but he did not have peace. His life shows us that a person can be surrounded by luxury and still feel completely alone. Another important lesson is that loyalty is valuable, but blind loyalty can destroy lives. In the world of crime, loyalty is often treated like the highest law. People are expected to follow orders without question. Never mean giving up your conscience. A loyal person does not simply protect someone's secrets. A loyal person also has the courage to stop someone from destroying themselves. This story teaches us that loyalty without honesty is dangerous. Real loyalty should be connected to truth, respect, and moral responsibility. The story also shows the heavy cost of revenge. Revenge often feels powerful in the beginning. It gives a person the illusion that pain can be answered with pain, but revenge rarely heals anything. Instead, it creates a chain of suffering that keeps growing. One act of revenge leads to another. One betrayal leads to another. In the end, everyone loses something. The mafia boss may have believed that revenge would restore his honor, but what it truly did was steal his humanity piece by piece. This is a powerful reminder that forgiveness is not weakness. Sometimes, forgiveness is the strongest decision a person can make because it breaks the cycle of hatred. Family is another central lesson in this kind of story. Many mafia bosses claim they do everything for family. They say they commit crimes to protect the people they love. But protection without honesty can become another form of harm. A family does not only need money or security. A family needs trust, emotional safety, and love that is not poisoned by fear. If a father, husband, brother, or son becomes powerful but loses the ability to show tenderness, then his family may live in a beautiful house, but still feel trapped inside it. This story reminds us that children and loved ones, often pay the price for the choices of powerful men. The mafia boss may think his decisions only affect his enemies, but every secret, every violent act, and every betrayal leaves a shadow over the innocent people around him. That is why one of the strongest educational messages is this: before making a decision, we must ask ourselves who will suffer because of it. A selfish choice may bring temporary success, but it can create long-term pain for the people we love most. Another meaningful point is the danger of pride. Pride can make a person refuse to apologize, refuse to change, and refuse to admit they are wrong. The mafia boss may have spent years believing that saying sorry would make him look weak, but in reality, the ability to apologize is a sign of strength. It takes courage to face the damage we have caused. It takes maturity to admit that we hurt someone, and it takes true character to change before it is too late. The story also teaches that redemption is possible, but it always requires sacrifice. A person cannot simply say they have changed. They must prove it through action. Redemption means accepting responsibility, protecting the innocent, telling the truth, and sometimes losing everything that was built on lies. For a mafia boss, redemption may mean walking away from power, exposing corruption, saving someone he once endangered, or choosing love over control. The path to redemption is painful, because it forces a person to confront the worst parts of themselves. But it is also the only path that can lead to peace. From a human perspective, this story is powerful because it shows that even the hardest heart can still feel pain. Behind the cold eyes of a mafia boss, there may be regret, loneliness, childhood wounds, or a deep fear of being betrayed. This does not excuse his actions, but it helps us understand that broken people often break others when they never learn how to heal. The educational value here is important. Pain should not become an excuse to hurt people. Instead, pain should become a reason to grow, to seek wisdom, and to choose a better path. For viewers, the lesson is not to admire the criminal lifestyle, but to understand its emptiness. The suits, cars, mansions, and power may look attractive from the outside, but behind them there is often fear, guilt, and loss. A life built on violence can never bring true happiness. A life built on lies can never bring true freedom. And a life built on fear can never create real love. In the end, the story of a mafia boss is really a warning. It warns us that every choice has a consequence. It warns us that money cannot buy peace. It warns us that fear cannot replace respect. It warns us that revenge cannot heal a wounded heart. Most importantly, it reminds us that the greatest power a person can have is not the power to control others, but the power to control themselves. The deepest lesson is simple but meaningful. Choose character over pride, love over control, truth over silence, and forgiveness over revenge. No matter how dark a person's past may be, change is possible when they are willing to face the truth. But the longer someone waits, the higher the price becomes. A mafia boss may win the streets, defeat his enemies, and build an empire, but if he loses his soul, he has lost everything. True strength is not found in violence. True strength is found in responsibility, compassion, humility, and the courage to become better before it is too late.